All right, I'll go ahead and get us started. Last season's Young Player of the Year, Jackson Corey, scored his first goal of the season last weekend in Greenville. What have you seen from him in training this week, and what should fans expect from him as we move forward into the season?
Jackson's one of the more versatile players we have in our squad. We expected goal production from him this year. We've moved him around positionally a wee bit, so he's kind of sacrificed his position a wee bit for the benefit of the team at times. But his willingness to arrive and quality from everyone in the park is really good. So fans can expect to see more goals. I think this will be a bit of a launch pad for him. He's got a wee sniff. He's trained very well again this week. So I think what our challenge to him was, can he fight to be in either the first or second team all league? And I think if he starts putting more goals together, I think he'll be in and about that. He's certainly a good talent.
We're almost a third of the way through the season. What are some things you and the team have learned that you are able to use when preparing for the upcoming matches?
You always learn a lot. Last week we learned a heck of a lot. It was obviously a condensed week against three very good opponents. What we know is we can go anywhere and score. We can put teams under pressure, but there's some areas that we're got a lot of first year pros, and there's areas of leadership, areas of cohesiveness, of just consistency and habits, and what we'd probably put under the umbrella of just know-how to finish out results, whether it's the Charleston game, the Greenville game, just the navigation of those moments where some of the teams are older, are probably a little bit longer in the tooth than we are to navigate those moments. So that's something we have to learn. So that's an area that as a team we'll be speaking about a lot. I wouldn't call it dark arts, just the maturity to learn what the moment of the game requires. That's something we knew with a young team that we'd have to teach, and that's something that the boys are in the middle of trying to learn and navigate right now, and that's probably one of the bigger challenges that lies ahead of us.
You host the Chattanooga Red Wolves in League One this weekend. Former Tormenta FC goalkeeper TJ Bush has gotten off to a solid start with his new team. Can you tell us a bit about the preparation for this match and how you hope to beat one of your former goalkeepers?
Yeah, look, it's nice for us as an organisation to see that guys that have left us either moved on to higher divisions or have applied their trade elsewhere and stayed in the game. That's rewarding. TJ, great kid. Saw him make a save, I think, off one of our other former players when they were playing Fuego off a corner. What a save it was. He's a goalkeeper that, along with Pablo Jara, helped us win a championship, so we're ever so proud of him. And our job this week is to put a number up of him and score goals. So there's been some focus today turning to Chattanooga, but the first 3 days of the week have really been about self-reflection of us and where we need to be. And then today we started paying homage to things they do and how we can counteract them. So there's some prep work that goes into them, but obviously being the home team, we certainly want to take the game to them, and our fans can fully anticipate us doing that come Saturday.
The following weekend, the team returns to the Jägermeister Cup group play against the Richmond Kickers. You will welcome back 5 former Tormenta FC players in that match. Are there any players you and your staff are looking at and thinking, this is a guy we have to stop?
Look, I don't think we tend to go and look at anybody specifically and say we have to stop this guy. They've got talent. Look, Adrian can score a goal. Nil can do something magic. Arthur's really hard to combat against. Ryan is one of the most selfless attacking players that we've worked with here. And then obviously Pabs is just a special person on and off the field. So individually, it's a very good group. It's a group that helped us win a championship. So I think Darren has made a very wise choice in bringing those boys to his organisation, and they will make them better. And again, it's less about trying to stop one of them, and it's more just making sure that we have a very strong performance, but welcoming them back, treasuring what they brought to our organisation, but making sure that they don't enjoy their return to our stadium. And that's the key. None of them have an enjoyable experience back other than seeing friendly faces before and after the game, but we hope to make them suffer during the game.
That is all I have. I'll go ahead and pass it on to you, Luke.
Appreciate that, Noah. Hey, Ian, good to see you again. Just first off, you kind of tell me, I know you mentioned it was kind of a rough last week against 3 very quality opponents. What areas of progress did you see from your team from game to game throughout those 3 as far as improvements? And I guess throughout the course of the season, where you've seen the most improvement from your team?
Well, thanks for that question. I think it's what you bring up is an important point, is to say, okay, how do you look at last week? Do you just analyse it and say, okay, well, we lost the 3 games, which we have to take responsibility for and we have to assess and not hide from. And that part is easy. because anybody that puts a hand up and says, I want to be a coach in a competitive environment or I want to be a pro footballer, it hurts. And and really it's more about how do you manage that and still identify the things that you have to get stronger at, but then take out of that what was still positive and so forth. We could have won any one of the 3 games. I thought we were dynamic against Omaha away and could have scored multiple goals, but you obviously can't concede as many as we did. We know that. Charleston Battery are running through the championship, and I thought we were excellent in that game and took it down to the wire. And then Greenville in the first half was one of the better halves we played and dominated them when they were fully at rest and had a very strong performance first half. But we lost our way in the second half. So it was a hard week to get no change out of it. I thought was a bit of a shame for the boys. I thought they deserved more than that out of the week. But we have to respect the fact that we didn't. So we've got to come out this Saturday with that real feeling of being aggrieved, of frustration. And that's got to present itself this coming Saturday in our performance at home against Chattanooga. But by that same token, there's lots of signs. Our resiliency against Charleston, even though we conceded in the 120th minute, there was still a lot of resiliency showed during that game. Our ability to go toe-to-toe with Greenville and Omaha, who are 2 of the more esteemed organisations in USL1 history, was good to see. So there were lots of positives on the offensive end, but we have to shore it up defensively. And there's little details. We're not conceding tons of chances. We're not walking away from the game thinking we got battered. There's big moments, and there's just a little bit of know-how in those defensive actions that we have to clean up as a whole group. Starts from the very front to the back. So if we shore that up and keep our ascendancy in terms of our ability to create chances, then we hope to turn that tide and have more fruitful weeks than the ones that we had last week.
And then you mentioned, I guess, especially in the Greenville game, you talked about having such a good first half. How do you maintain that consistency over 90 minutes as opposed to just having a good stretch here or there? How do you get that to go for the full 90?
Well, I think again, I don't really want to keep on talking about first-year pros as if that's an excuse, but it's an education. I think as a staff, we've got to assess, okay, if we had an older group of players, then perhaps at halftime at Greenville, you can just maintain and make a few tweaks and assess how they're hurting us and how we can keep hurting them. Perhaps as a staff, we've got to recognise, okay, at halftime, we've got to give some of these guys reminders of, okay, what do you expect Greenville to come out? How are they going to respond? And what are the highs and lows that are going to play out in this second half? And I think that's something that the group have to learn. Sometimes the team come pre-programmed with that, but likely with our inexperience at professional level in some positions on the field, in some key positions on the field, that's something that we have to probably keep at the forefront of our conversation at all times. Is how do you manage the 90? Now, there was a lot of effort put into last week, a lot of travel. So the second half performance, by nature, as humans, we want to categorise this was the reason or that was the reason. We might have just been fatigued. They might have just not had it in their legs. And that can happen. But that's not necessarily something that that's not going to quench our appetite. There's actions we could have been made better, and we'll focus in on them and make sure that that's rectified, and we take that as that's our lesson and learn from it. If we don't, then you'll suffer again. If you do learn from it, this group is capable of being a strong contender in the playoffs and winning a championship. They are capable of that. We have seen enough to see that. But now we have to, this week-to-week route that we're about to go into, we have to start pushing the pedal down, and we know that.
Yeah, and just kind of talk, I do obviously want to ask going forward, what have you seen from Chattanooga so far? What are kind of their strengths and weaknesses, and what do you plan to do to attack them this Saturday?
So really talented group individually. They've got lots of very good ball handlers, and they've got an athletic striker who brings balance to that. So lots of technical proficiency in midfield, and then athleticism in the front line that can stretch it. So it's a balance of both of those things. I think against the ball, when they're facing the play, really strong, combative. They keep a little bit of what they've had in the past, but there are weaknesses there. And I don't think it makes any sense to be sitting here talking about it in a broadcast that will be seen by eyes. But I think there's things to respect in their game, but there are areas where we think man for man or system to system, we can cause them a lot of issues and put their back line and their goal under a lot of pressure. But we have to manage their technical proficiency in midfield and really combat that and come up with tactics for the start of the game, but in the midpoint and the end of the game, to make sure everybody knows what their strengths are and what we have to do to nullify that. But if we manage to get tight on them, stay aggressive on them, then on the offensive end, I do anticipate we'll put them under a lot of pressure, and hopefully that balance and act will see a positive result. And they've not played a lot of games, so they are still learning a bit about themselves. We've played more games with our run in the Open Cup and with a game or two more in the league. So we're a little bit further along in our evolution, and we hope that shows come Saturday.
And then just talk a little, if you wouldn't mind, talk a little bit about Coach Scott McKenzie and kind of what he brings to that team and what you've seen from him so far.
Yeah, he's not somebody I know intimately well on a personal level, but I think from the outside, what I can say is he's somebody that's probably had a similar path to myself. He was given an opportunity to coach in USL2 structure by the leaders of the organisation, of the umbrella Red Wolves organisation. By all accounts, I think he thrived in that, showed real promise. Then an opportunity presented itself at Chattanooga Red Wolves, and he'd prepared himself and given him and showed well both in character and competency as a coach to get that opportunity to lead an organisation. That's what happened to me. I was given an opportunity with other coaches to run a USL2. We did well, and then the opportunity, the door opened to cut my teeth in the professional ranks. And I'm ever so grateful for that. And I think he's similar. He's not the oldest coach around. I think he's relatively young. Got one opportunity, took it with two hands. Now he's got the opportunity to be a pro coach. Last year was probably a bit of a free shot for him because where they were in the league when he took over, he could try things. This year you're going to see a full campaign and you're going to see his ideas being expressed on the field. You've seen it a little bit with who he's recruited, and now you're going to see it tactically over the course of the season. So, like myself, this is his opportunity to test himself in a notch up from USL2 in a pro environment against other really good organisations and teams. And I'm excited for him to see. But come Saturday, that's, I don't really care, to be honest. Our job on Saturday is to have him have a lot to reflect on. And if we manage to do that, then that's likely that means we had a positive outcome.
Okay, and then looking a little bit further ahead to Richmond, obviously y'all have played them once already. What is the atmosphere is the wrong word. What is the thought process in playing a team for a second time as far as going back out there? Obviously, you played well the first game, but you just can't run out the exact same game plan expecting them not to change. So how do you manage a game playing a team for the second time in the season?
Look, it's a very fair question, but I'm going to have to be honest. I have zero thoughts in my head right now about Richmond. A coach cannot afford to be thinking 2 weeks ahead. We build this week. Every thought in my body is all about Chattanooga on Saturday. Once we navigate that game, then we'll turn our attention to Richmond. So if I was giving you an answer, I'd be making something up on the spot about the dynamics of that, and I don't think you deserve that or whoever's listening deserves that. The truth of it is we work week to week. There's so much that goes into one individual game that all staff, all players, and there can be no diversion of thoughts towards the future. Once we navigate Saturday, then all our energy will go into that, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions in the future. But right now, everything's about Chattanooga Red Wolves and trying to climb up the table.